Hello everyone, a warm welcome to this course. So in this course, what we are planning to do is build a Node.js based CLI. The intention here is that we will learn how to make a Node.js based CLI, but that we will do by making an app. Okay, and that app is nothing which is more relevant in today's world, which is, as you already know, we have COVID-19 affecting everyone, right? And being in India, to the it's like the cases are going crazy. So what I thought was that because vaccination is going on and it is very tough to find a vaccination slot, and each time to find a vaccination slot, you have to go to that site and keep checking a number of times. I thought being a developer, most of the time what we are doing is we are either in the working in the some code editor, terminal. Most of the time we spend there. So rather than going to the browser each time refreshing page and doing stuff, I thought, why can't we have a CLI, right? A CLI which gives you real-time status, a CLI which tells you about different slots, and it's a basic structure and you can build on top of it. So in this course, we will learn a Node.js, how to create a Node.js based CLI from beginning, and while doing that, we'll actually make an app which is pretty useful. Okay, so moving on, what you will learn is you will learn how to create the CLI. We'll cover take baby steps to make how do you make the CLI, right? And in fact, we'll start with what is CLI also, right? And at the end, what you will get is a real-time info about COVID-19 vaccination slots for your area. It is just a live app. What you can do is you can make as whatever CLI you want to make as per your need, because you will be able to learn how to make it from this course. Moving on, so what will this CLI do? This CLI will, because in India what we have is the country is comprised of different states. States have different districts. Okay, so what we want our CLI to do is, one is we want our CLI to have the ability to get all the states. Then we want our CLI to basically has the ability to get all the districts of a state, because I am more interested in knowing what are the vaccination slots available in my district, right? So based on those districts, we are able to get the slots. Another thing is we have applied certain filters. For example, the vaccination is going on in phases here. It is right now open for almost everyone above 18, but earlier it was only for 45, then from anyone above 45 years of age. Now it is 18 to 45. And apart from this, what we will learn is how do we make some beautification, how do we make this CLI beautiful. So enough of talking. I think it makes sense to directly jump into the course and start taking baby steps. The only prerequisite of this course is to make sure you understand what is Node.js, what is JavaScript. Then it will be very easy for you to make this and to make this CLI and understand this course in detail. Okay, so let's start with our first initial setup. So in this initial setup, what we will do is we will install all the modules which we need. What are modules? Modules is like a reusable code which do a certain set of things, and they are hosted on a public repository which is npm. So npm is like a package manager for these all different reusable packages. So thinking about what all we can need, one is because we'll be making some kind of an API call from the different from the server where there are slots. So we will need Axios. This is a package manager. We'll have a look at it, and then we'll also need to beautify our output, right? A terminal output. So that we will do via chalk, and as well as we will use Tty-table as another package which is for making your table output beautiful. And then most important thing is we will also need commander, because when you need to run some CLI commands such as cowin states, let's say our CLI command name is cowin and it has a sub command name states. So all these things are handled by a commander. And then for example, you need to also ask or help or ask few questions from the user to get the input. That's where we will be using Inquirer. And this second last entry node notifier is something which I have created for now, is to send a node desktop notification if the slot functions run. Okay, so these are the all basic things which we need. And so without wasting further much time, so let's first have a look at npm Axios. Okay, so if you search for Axios npm, it goes to npm package manager, and it tells you what are its features: make http request, makes these promises, it support promises, how do you want to install it, right? If you have already, I'm assuming we have already installed Node.js. Okay, and then how do we use it? Everything is there, so it's like we don't have to do much, right? So let's first, what we do is we will set a Node.js project, and then we'll install these dependencies. So for that, let me quickly open our I've created this folder cowin. Okay, and let me quickly open a terminal. Let me make it a bit bigger. Okay, I hope you are able to see. Yes, so let's first make it as a uh, uh, npm project, right? So for that, what you can do is you can run npm init, and you see this npm init is also nothing but a CLI command. CLI is command line interface. So this has also been created, I don't know whether via Node.js or something else, but it, when I run npm init, it is asking me a few questions. So this is what our Inquirer will do. For example, I want package name to be cowin. This is a question, so this is being taken care by Inquirer, and this command is being decrypted by commander. The commander is the package name. Okay, so I say yes, package name has to be cowin, version is same, description is COVID 19 vaccinations slot tracker for India. Entry point is index.js, yes, from where the our application will start. Test command nothing, get blank, keywords blank, license okay. I say everything is fine, you say okay. Okay, so as soon as do this, you see this, we have a package.json already created. Let's just move it to the right and make it smaller, right? Yes, so you already see this, whatever information we have provided, it is already there, right? And let's first install all the modules which we need. So for that, what we can do is we can simply run a command named let me make this like this, npm install. What all we want to install? One is Axios, right? And what else we had chalk. So just press space. You can install, use an individual install commands, or you can do it at one go. Commander and Inquirer, and then we have node notifier, and then last we have Tty-table. So all these packages, and let it run. And you will notice here, once it does, you will see how these things get updated. It'll take some time because I could have done everything at individually, but it's okay. Wow, yeah, you see this, there is a node modules which has come, and it has Axios but other packages also. Why? Because one package is dependent internally on other packages. So you will see all the packages. You'll have our packages which we have installed, these one, but along with it you have their dependent packages also. Okay, and if you notice that it has already added this dependencies as a Axios, Chalk, Commander, Inquirer, not all those packages. So I think we are set, right? But I think let's do one more thing, which is that we'll create a one folder here and we'll call it as bin, and we'll add our index.js file at this location. Okay, now since we have already added our location as this, so what we can do is we will update main as bin slash index.js, that this is where my thing runs, right? It is available at this place. That's what I'm trying to tell it, right? Now moving on, right? So this is okay. We have our initial setup done. Now let's have, like, what do we have? We'll have is, where do we define what our command will be? For example, here you have used npm install, right? How do we define this npm name, right? So what you can do is we will use one second, let me clear this. We can do here is we'll just press comma, I say it is in bin, right? It is bin, and I want to call this as this command as cowin, right? So this is the name of the command which you will use, and where shall it go to? When I say cowin, where shall it go? It shall go to /bin / index.js, right? So it goes to this file, right? And whatever code is there, it runs. So that's where you define what is your, where is your, or what is your CLI name, cowin, and what is its location. So we have so far defined these, right? But we have one more thing. It is, if you look at what our API will do, right? What our CLI will do is, let me just go back. It will get all states, right? So there might be some function which we call states. It will get all district IDs. There will be a function which will call district ID. There will be slots, right? So these will be three functions, right? So these will be the functions which will be called by our CLI, right? So either I can code everything here, these functions, or being following a good practice, programming practice, what we can do is we can create a folder name util, okay, and inside it I create three classes, states.js, then I have districts.js, okay, and then I have slots.js. So what this will have is, it will contain our reusable functions, right? Our functions which will be called in index.js file. Okay, so I think we are fairly set with our basic setup, and I hope you have already done this, right? So far every file is blank except package.json. Slowly we will build on it. Okay, so let's now start with the next step, which is to let's build our first function, states one, then we'll build our district one, slots one, and then we will be like finally moving towards index.js. So we will walk through every one of it individually. So let's start by creating our first function, which is states.js, right? And for that, so first what we will do is we'll first check whether do we have any APIs or something which are available. So for that, let me quickly go to the site, which is cowin. Okay, and if you look at the top, there is a thing called Open API, which is a job well done by Indian government, that they are also providing us the APIs and you can build on top of it. And if you look here, we have one is user authentication, OTP is one. Metadata, these are the ones. This is, what is this? States, get states, right? And get list of district. And okay, this is what we want states, but to get districts we need state IDs, right? So that means somehow the person who is running the CLI, he needs to find what his state is, right? Then state ID, using that state ID he will get district, and using that district ID he can actually find the calendar. For example, if you want to find the slots, you can see it is via district ID, right? And date we will be defaulting as today's date. So I think we have pretty much everything here. So let's just look at the format which we have is like, okay, this is normally will be the URL, okay, and how the response will look like. This is how the response will be. You'll have states, state underscore ID, state underscore name, the similar kind of response we'll get. So let me just copy it, but before that let me first open npm Axios, because we will also be using the sample codes, right? So for example, I will be making this call, right? And let's just copy it, and if we go here, we says constant Axios require this, that with module we have already installed in the setup. I'm just getting this instance, and because this function is something which we are planning to reuse in index.js, so what I can do is I can write module.exports is equal to function. We don't want any parameter, right? We just want to export it, and that's it. And let's just now clean this up. In case of error, I just want to console log it. Now this, so this is, what is the endpoint? The endpoint is this one, very simple, right? So we will have endpoint, and in case it is successful, let's just console log the response, right? So we have a very basic setup, right, where we are actually calling this, right? And along with this, let's do one thing. What because we have not defined what exactly will be the header for us, right? The request header. So for that, what I can do is I can say const config is equal to user agent, because normally once you are sending something, right, to the request, it has headers, and in our header what we will say is user agent, so that we are clearing that who we are, right? So let's say it is Axios app, because if we don't do that, it gives us a forbidden error. It will not allow us. Okay, so I have done that. I will close the bracket, and that's it, right? And okay, I put one extra. So we have our header, right, in config. So let's just pass it along with it here, so that this value is passed. Okay, and now we have defined this function. How do we use it in index.js? All you need to do is const states is equal to require slash util slash states. Yes, and now I have these functions here, and all I need to do is just say, because of states, so this shall execute it, right? And let's maybe quickly check it. So let me just open this here so that you can compare it. So if you look at this, we are creating a export function which is being exported with the same name. It has Axios. If you want, I can name it here, but by default, since I have not provided anything, it is exporting it. And Axios, get this, go there, get the state, and just console log, so, and it is here, right? let's just open a terminal, and what we will do is, let's just see node where, what is the location, dot slash bin slash index.js. What is the error? It says, so error, cannot find module util dot states. Utils, what do I have? Util, okay, typo. Just no, I don't want this. My bad. Right. So oh, good. So the response is coming, and the response is data. Good, states, right? So this is how it will look like. And if you look at here also it is like under states, response.data.states. Very good. So let me just close it, and I will have response.data.states. And if I run this again, so you have the state ID, everything all done. It is basically a, if you look at this, this is nothing but a table or an array. And I can also do like this and save. I don't, in case for people who don't want to run this transaction again and again, this command, they can install nodemon, which is another package manager, and which look for changes in your directory, and in case there is, then it automatically runs it. Wow. So here we have got the state IDs and state name. So far so good. So I think, or maybe, but this is not beautiful, right? So what we need to do is, next is to make it beautiful, right? And to making it beautiful, let me go back to our Axios, and if you remember, we have installed another package which is Tty-table, right? And this package we have installed is because we want to see our output bit in a better way. For example, something like this, or bit better, right? Something like this. So how do we use it? Is, it's also very straightforward. It defines, there is a header in which value, okay, it is passing the basically the column name, right? And then you can do the assign the colors, width. You can also do a formatter. We'll not use a formatter, right? So let's just, maybe let me just hide it, and we have the result here. So let's say we'll bring in our, we'll comment this, okay. So what are the column name? The column name is state ID, right, and state name, okay. So what I will do is, I'll just say state underscore ID and state underscore name, and we don't need any formatter, so I'll remove that. Width is 40 because name can be big. State ID is 2 digits, so 20 is okay. So we have the header which define this, but before that I think we need to add a table at the beginning. So what I will do is, I will say copy this, I'll say I need an instance of this package under this, right? Okay. So now what to do next? So we have defined what all columns will be there here, right? You have other things. How do we want to align the header, padding? You can look at it. And now once you have the rows and everything defined, all you need to do is, how do we call it? Come on. So you just call it via this. So table dot render, and you pass header. Rows is our data. Options, what are options? Oh, okay, options is at a table level, how the header is, how everything is. So let's also define this. So we define that, okay, border is like this, color has to be blue, header has to be this. Let's just use the default and just copy this, right? And then at the end we say, because our data is not in header and not in rows, our data is in response.state data.states. And if I just go here, put it like this, and it will print the output. So far things look good, but it is not good unless it works, right? So maybe let's make it a bit smaller for you as of now, because so that you can see the output. I'll just clear it, cls, and we will run this command again. Our table is not defined. What table I have used? Oh, capital T, my bad at copying. So if you look at this, wow, so this is much beautiful than this one, right? And it only tells you the state IDs and names and all, right? But only thing is this is not user friendly. So for that, what you can do is you can have a thing called alias. It's like, what do you call it? I want to call state ID, right? And what do you call this state name? I want to call it as state name, right? And if I run it again, I forgot the comma. I will install a node I think. I will run a node when the next one will come. So this is good. So state ID, perfect. I think our first function is ready, which is like we are making the call to the API, we are then formatting it, and then we are logging out. Where you'll use the same logic, similar logic, to do such formatting for our district as well as for our slots, right? So we will be mostly using these two for the other two functions, but since slots will have some kind of a header, so there will use chalk also, another package which we have installed. So I think we are done with the coding our first logic for getting the states. Now let's move on to districts. How do we get the districts? So our states is done, and let's try to create our district.js also, our district logic, right? We'll use the same stuff, only thing will be this will be different, and this formats will be different, the APIs and all. So let me just copy it and create it here and press save. Yeah, I think this is something which will be reusing across slots, states, and districts. So it makes sense to put it something in a file named config.js. So what we can do is let's create a file config.js. Okay, and let me first delete everything from district. I go to states. I just copy this. Okay, and we put it in config.js. Since we want it to be available globally across the program, the whole fun, so we'll use exports, right? And here also we will use exports. We are trying to export this config, right? So all I need to do is format selection, saves. Okay, so this is something which has been defined. Now anyone can use it. How do we use it? We go to states.js. I say const what is the name? I forgot. Config and options. Okay, config comma options, and then you have require /config. Okay, and now we are good. So let me just validate it also. If I just run our command, it works, right? Okay, so it looks good, right? So let me just copy this now and copy and paste it in district. Okay, so now let's go and look at how does our district URL looks like. So it is something like if I click here, then you can see in the sample one. The sample one is something like this, right? And okay, that means there is a state ID. So let's just copy this first, right? And districts, but here we need something like state ID. So what I can do is that in case you want to call this function, right, you need to pass it a parameter, and let that parameter shall be state ID, right? and this state id is my function argument. Okay, so whatever state id will be passed to it, it will be like not state id. Let's just look at the response also, the sample one. State id is this because I'm interested in district, right? So that means we'll change this field to district, right? And this is also district name, and alias will be district name, and state id will be replaced by district id, and it should be response.data.states. No, it should be districts, right? We copy this and we say this, everything's same. Only thing is we have got one more argument, and these have customized it, right? Now let's just try to run it. Okay, but before that, in case we need to run it, what we need to do is in index.js we have already got this, right? We will import our districts one also, and it is in districts, correct? Now let's just look at first any district, because in order to run this function we need some district id, state id. So the state id is, let's go for 12, which is Haryana. I will hard code it for the time being. Later, because once you will run via CLI, you will be yourself passing it. So I'll say districts and 12. Okay, so first we will have a table now of states. Maybe let's just comment it. It shall directly show us all the districts. Okay, earlier it was states. Now let's just run it, and yes, you see these districts, Charkhi, Dagri, Ambala, these are all districts in my state Haryana. And if I just uncomment this also, and if I run it now, you will see two tables. Yes, so one is for district, one is for states. So our district logic is also completed. I think similarly we will write our slot logic. Only thing then which will be pending is somehow based on these inputs from the command line, how do we pass them? We'll see that. So let's first in our next lesson try to create that slot.js file, right? And then we will see how to work on it. So let's now let me just hide this, and let's close this. Let's just copy district to our slots one, right? And for slots one, instead of state id, we will need is a district id, right? And let's just first look at the endpoint of what it is for districts, calendar by district, and it gives you, it is like public calendar by district, and all you need to do is just pass the parameters. So for example, this is how you pass it, right? The dates, district and all, district id. So what I will do is that instead of this, we will replace this district id with dollar district id, which will be an input to the function which we have defined, and date also we will define locally. So that will be like something like, because we want to keep it current date. If you want, you can do it as per your logic, current date or whatever date you want to put it. So district id is being used, current date and all, right? And if you look at the response is going to be like centers, and then it will have these kind of things, sessions and all, right? So let's just say that I think for here we'll need to do some processing, because if you look at it, I want the name and address, right? And then a state and all I already have, but then these are under session, there is an array, right, where you have the slots and how many are available for dose 1, dose 2 and capacity, right? So this is what we will we'll see. Well, let's look at the output and then we will accordingly process it, right? So for the time being, all I'm saying is that let's just say console.centers, right? And fields, yes, field is I want a name. Okay, so I say name, and let it be center name, and then I want a center address. I think we'll need to do some kind of a processing here in a loop and all. So maybe just let me, for the time being, what we'll do is let's just load it. We'll not do any formatting, just to check our data. How does it look like? All I need is a district ID, and district ID is passed. Date is something which we forgot of. How do we add the date, right? So for date, what we can do is uh, let's have variable, let's define it here because it is here. Variable curve date, I think, yes, is equal to new date, right? This is today's date. And now, because the format, if you look at the format is something like ddmmyy. So what we will do is we will bring in the formatter, right? And date, and the formatter we get date, whatever is the date, then coordinate with hyphen, then extract the month and add a leading 0 and get a full year. So today's date, so let's just put it as today's date, not like this. So it's today's date and it shall work, right? Now slots has a district ID. Let's go to, now I think it is ready in the sense, basic sense, not beautiful one. So if I just import slots and slots, and let's just comment this and bring in slots, and district is something because I am from Panchkula, so 187. So I'll say get me all the slots in Panchkula. Okay, and let's see whether it runs or does it throw any error, right? Very good, it is working, right? So let's look at this. So first is a name, yes, an address which we need, which place it is, where vaccination is going to be, which address, state name we might need in heading, we need this, but important is this sessions also, right? So what we can do is, so that means under centers you have sessions, right? So what we can do is let's loop across all this. So let's just comment it. So I say this, because it's not a flat structure, we need to make a flat structure out of it. So what I will do is response.data.centers dot for each, right? And then we say what I need is each iteration you refer it to as an item, and now what you get is basically that for example, this is the district name here, right? And so for example, if I just say, we will need a big array because we'll need a final data, right? So let's declare a final data, right? And we can now, because we now need to loop through across the next one also, because item has sessions and we want to loop through it. So what I can do is I can say items dot size item, yeah, items, not item, items dot sessions, as you can see on right, dot for each, right? Now we will have something like for each session we want certain detail, right? So we'll pass it here. So now what we'll do is we'll say our let our data is equal to, we are defining the structure of how our flat structure will look like. We need is a name, so I'll say what do we need? We need a name, right? Or name. So I say name or center, it is center, and it is in item dot name, right? Then I need address, so I need address item dot address, right? So all I need is item address, right? And in our sessions what we can see is what we have. Let us just maybe log this session value because I am not able to see what structure it has. So let's just say console.log session for the timing, right? And I'm not logging anything else. Let's just run it to see what session it has. Okay, so here you see it has session ID, date, available capacity. Yes, this is what we need. So we'll say label column session dot available underscore capacity because I want to know what is the capacity, right? And slots we don't need, and yes, age, because we want to put it as a filter because there are some slots which are for 45 year and above, some are for 18 and above, so we want that also. So I'll say session dot min age underscore limit, right? And that's it. I think that's what our data will be. And I'll say final data dot push our data, right? And if I just log it here, console dot log final data I can see a typo, data, right? And if I just comment this, so it shall actually display a kind of our object array. Yeah, center this, address this, available 0. Very good. So we have the fields available. So now let's try to make it work. So let's now beautify it like we did it using Tty-table earlier. And we field is, first field we have is center name, then we have address. Very good. Then what do we need is available, right? So available slot, right? And then we age. What is the age we are looking at, right? And I think we'll also need the date also because it can have multiple dates, right? So this date, one session is available on 15th, another is on the next date, so we'll have a date also available, that which date, how many slots. So I put in as date, that will be date, age is in small, it's sensitive, and date, right? And then I'll say date session dot date, what date, which slot, right? So our header is ready, right? Our options are already there, so all I need to do is just copy this, right, and bring it here, constant slot. Instead of this we'll have this, and I will have final data as input here. So now we are done, we are good. Let's just check how our output looks like. All I need to do is not bin index.js. Oh yes, because this is a small screen, so that's why you see this. Now it looks like, because our centers need more space, slot can be less, age can be less, slot and centers and center address need more space. So what we can do is You can give this also as 40. Available is very small, 20. Age is also 10. That is a single character. Date should be 20. Okay, and if I just now run it, looks good. Only thing is this is still getting terminated. We can adjust the size and this can still work, right? So if I just run now, because it is not a whole screen, and if you look at this now, if I run, it will be perfectly fine. So now we are able to get, in fact, available slot is blank because this is big, it is always booked. That's why I thought of having this app, right? That is always booked, and I can schedule this task to run via task scheduler, this command to run via task scheduler also, right? So that it can automatically notify me. How do it notify me? We'll see that, right? So basically you can see this is working very good. Now I think what is pending is that we are not showing anywhere which date it is for which we are running, right? So somewhere what we will do is we will have to bring in our next package, which is chalk, right? And because we want some header to be there, and I want that header to be beautiful, so I say require chalk, right? And how does it look like? How do we use it? Let's just where is it? We search here chalk npm repository. Here is it, and look at the sample code. It is okay. So you can change the background, red, green, blue, whatever you like. You can change the color also. And how do we use it? All you need to do is console.log, then use this, whatever color you want to, or background you want to change, you want to use this bold one, you can use this. So maybe let me just use this, and we will, where shall we use? We will do it before this, right? And I'll say, I'm just trying to show you how it looks, right? So if you look at this, there is a header which has come hello world, right? So same way we will have we wanted it's because I have another background as this black, so it changes, but if it is a plain one you will see that background. So what I want here is a date, right? Which date? Today's date. So what I will say is date for which run today's date, right? And somewhere I also want to print that okay, I want a state also, or this state name also, right? So if I just scroll up, I hope it is there in the logs center, not there. So maybe let me find it in the quickly here, district underscore name. Okay, so and it is available at header. So what I can do is I can say let's maybe have it as district name as blank, and we'll have district name is stored in item dot district underscore name. So I will have district name also district, right? So now let's just run it, control J, and yes, it is coming. I saw it. District, although it is bad, but it is coming. You can see date for which run. So we can have it as maybe, I think I need to change the background to something like green, because I have already had a dark one, so that might make it a bit better. So now if you see, yes, it is still better, right? And we can code the logic also that only if there is any slot you show that entry, that we might see. And next is we'll look at how do we build filters, that I want to see only 18.1 or 45.1, I want to see all, right? We'll see that. But if you ask me, the basic structure of this state as this slots is ready, right? And maybe I think it's enough of logic building. Let's now move towards the place where we can actually create our command. So in the next chapter or lesson, we will try to use commander and inquirer, and you will not use this node bin.index.js. We will use the command CLI or CLI to run it. Okay, so time now to go towards the magic where we actually start using that commander, right, which we haven't used. So let me just remove this and let's have constant program is equal to require commander. Okay, now we are trying to build our CLI. So if let's just open commander here and see the sample code. So commander, it can be used to create options. We'll create that. Commands, yes, very good. And helps, and there are so many things you can read it. We have already installed it. If you remember in our setup, how do we use it? We are using this only. Then where? Okay, so this is how you add options, right? And I know we want actions first. And how do we want commands or actions or something? Where is it? Where is it? Program.pass, add option. Yeah, commands. So this is how you basically send the command that okay, what all commands you want. So what we will do is that we'll copy this and put it here. So first command should be what? It should be to list down the states, right? And I don't want any parameter, right? So what she'll do is list down all the states. And action is see it is passing a function, but we already have our functions passed, right, defined in state. So we'll say states. Okay, then next one, what do we want? We want to list down the districts, right? And how do we want to list down? We say districts, and then we want to define a parameter here. So we'll say state ID I need. So what all we'll we'll say get all district for a state using ID, using state ID. Okay, and here I want districts to be called, right? So it will automatically pass that. Then next is I want slots, right? So for slots, what do you need? You need is a district ID, right? And get all districts, get all slots for district, right? And here I pass slots, and then I say whatever is the input, you pass it. That's it. I think our basic setup is ready, which will, so we'll have this commands. But what was the name of our CLI main command? The command which we have to use is cowin, right? So how do we do it? So now the next step, once you have done this, is to use the command. Let me do a clear screen. npm install -t dot, because I want to use it anywhere and everywhere. So it will create a package and install it. Let's just give it 1 minute. Okay, good, it is created. Is it so? Let's maybe try to find it out. Command is cowin. If I write cowin is not working. Let me first check whether our code is working or not, because that is more important first. I think, yeah, that is working. And in fact, if I just say states, that is also working. I think Okay, I forgot very important thing, because right now when you say node, it automatically the knows that this code has to be compiled via node environment, right? But when you run it via command like cowin, it doesn't know what environment it is. So how you can mention that environment is basically you should say user stash bin env node. You mention, so you explicitly mention that my code will run via node, and will run via node, right, in user bin environment path. Okay, you just say save, and once you do this, it is environment variable, so it is important to update this is our package which we are doing, and but not for the normal changes. We'll show that. So if you just say cowin now, it works. And for example, if I change this slots to slot, and if you just say cowin, you see this, there is a slot, right? So that's like, it's okay. So you don't need to make any changes. That's okay. So let's just now test our uh, CLI whether it works fine or not. If I say cowin states, I have all the states. If I say cowin slots, cowin districts for Rajasthan 29, whose district ID is 29, you can see here, right? Or let's say, right? So that is also very good. And what if I want to see COVID slots in my city, Panchkula, COVID? Oh, I should have named it actually COVID. Anyways, so you can see these are slots. There are unfortunately none is available, and we also getting a good header. Now, important thing, one more advancement which we want to make right now is that once I run for slots, I want it to, ask me. It wants it gives me an question, something like that. Okay, whether you want to see records for all slots for all 18, only 18-year-old, 18 to 45, or only 45 plus, or all. So what we will do, for how we can do that is basically by using our Inquirer. Remember we installed Inquirer. Let's just quickly jump to Inquirer and find the exact code which we will use, right? And let me open this, because Inquirer is, once the slot transaction or command runs, I want it to ask us a question, right? So what we will do is we'll add it here, and so how do we add it is we want it to basically prompt us. Okay, so I'll say variable inquire. This is a very straightforward. So first let's get the inquirer. Okay, and then we need to ask questions, right? So when do we want to ask this question is basically when we have, before making our API call. So that's where I say inquirer prompt. But how do we pass the question? We'll see that. But before that, let's first move everything. Let is Axios part, which is our API call, inside this call. This, when this promise resolves, then I want to call this Axios one, right? How do we define our questions? Let's go back and go to this repository, and you can see here we need to pass it a object which can have type as input, number, confirm, list, raw list, different option, name, message, and choices. This is what we'll pass. Okay, so what I will do is here I will say an object whose name is type is list, name is choice, and what else you want? We want message. What do you want to show it to the user? Please choose age group, right? And then you have your choices, which is nothing but an array of our objects, right? And this array has a name. You will say all ages, and value. So value, I'm saying blank is, we pass blank if it is all, right? And just copy this and this, and I'll add a comma because the array of objects. This is 45 plus. This is I want to have value as 45 to be shown. This is 18 to 45 and value as 18 to be shown. Okay, and whatever is the answer will be coming here. Let's just first log this answer, so see what value comes, because we don't know, right? So let me just beautify it. Format selection, we don't need to run any npm install because it is already saved. There's no major change except will JavaScript field. So if I say cowin slots, you see now we get a prompt, the same prompt, all ages 45 plus this. If I choose anything, right now no code is there, so if I just choose 45 plus, and if I look here, choice is 45. Okay, it is in answers dot choice. Okay, so what we will do is, right now we know now which is where. So while we are making our data, we'll add a clause. If answers dot choice is equal to blank, then you add all the records, right? Okay, and then we need a else if, which is to basically say if answer dot choice is equal to this. That means if you choose 18, then it will compare, only 18 will be added. If you choose 45, only 45 will be added, right? So let's just now run it again. Now for example, I choose 18, you see this choice is 18 and I see all the 18. And if I run again for 45 plus, and only 45 records are shown. Brilliant. So let's just remove this console. Okay, so we are all good, right? Now this is majority of the work is done, but one thing is pending. Let's say we want to have a notification whenever this slots is run, right? So what we will do is, we will see how do we do it. Let me just, because for that I need to show the notification. Let me change the setting. So we want some kind of a notification to come, right? For that, if you remember, we have added node notifier, so I will use that function, right? That package require node notifier, yes, and wherever we want to send the message. For example, as soon as this output is shown and I want to run it, right, that how does it look like? So what we can do is, we can say notifier dot notify, okay, and then here you can basically pass the object where you will mention what is the title of the message. For example, I want cowin slots executed, right? And then you can have subtitle if you want. Okay, let's just write subtitle as it is. Message is then you need to pass the message I'm keeping as same, right? And then you have something like you can pass wait as to message to be dismissed, and right, you have other options also, sound and all and everything, you can check that. So now whenever this will get executed, we shall get some notification, we'll see. So if I just say CLS, and if I now run cowin slots 187, now we have ages, so I just say 18, and you see behind my back here, right, there is this execution which has come, cowin slots executed, right? So that's how normally we add those notification. We can put this notification inside somewhere here with a logic that in case you find any slots greater than 0, then you basically come back and you can display this notification. So what will happen is you are working and you have scheduled this task in the background to run via task scheduler. Each 30 seconds or each 1 minute it is running, and you will get to see that, okay, wow, there's a notification come, some slots are there, let me quickly go there and book my slot. So that's how I'm kind of trying to use it. I'll enhance that logic to basically at least to bring it to that where we get notifications in for slots greater than 0. Otherwise, still, rather than going to a browser, it is still a better way. There are other ways which also exist, but I thought of making it a CLI and doing it. You can also further explore this cowin, right, where you can explore these options. You can add those options. Maybe let me just show you how we can add. I'll just show you. We will not run it, we'll not code that, but we'll just show you how do we add. So if I just say program dot option, right, and then you have to just say for example, I want to see only available slots, let's say, right, and I say available, and then you need to what you need to do is you need to kind of provide here the descriptions. I think there is string program string description. Okay, like this, and then available, and then maybe let's just provide command statics available slots and press save. And if I just run now, you can see this, it is available, default is available slots, right? So this is the default one, it is automatically showing you. So basically you can now go ahead and you can basically code these options also. So I think with this we have done with our CLI, and we will now move towards making something more complex in coming chapters. Okay, finally we have come to the end of this course, and where we started our course with an idea what all we will use. For example, we will use Axios to make our API calls, Chalk for beautifying this, Tty-table for beautifying tables, Commander for making those prompts, right, those subcommands, and Inquirer for making those prompts, right, uh, and Node notifier for notifications. I think you have learned a lot, and hopefully you have learned something that makes sense. As a next step, what you can do is you can automate your most of the things using it, right? You can do a number of things you want. We could have done the same thing using some scraper, right, which we could use to go to the site, do some stuff, and get this data scrapped out from the website, or using any automation software. So there are different options. It all depends on you. Or you could try integrating WhatsApp, Telegram, and different apps in place of Node 1, right? So the sky is the limit. And with this, I thank you for watching this course and completing this course, and wish you all the best, and stay safe, keep sharing, keep learning. Bye bye.